Divyesh, first images on our screens of Saurabh and Gaurav Luthra, the two brothers who chose to flee the country instead of standing by their staff, their guests who were there at that nightclub that night when the fire broke out. They sensed trouble and left the country. Now we'll see them coming back to India very soon, isn't it?
Well, yes, Neha, the Indian authorities are communicating and are in touch with the Thai authorities, and they've been using diplomatic channels as well. And that is why this has been a success for the Indian authorities to get Saurabh and Gaurav Luthra detained in Thailand with the help of Thai authorities. Now, using these diplomatic channels, they could also, team could go to Thailand, Phuket, and then take Gaurav and Saurabh Luthra in custody, from where they'll be brought back to India. Then they'll be formally arrested by the Goa police, produced in court. Then the remand will be sought and they'll be interrogated. They'll face the Indian law, but it'll take some time. It could be that they could be brought back in a short time, but the timing is, as of now, is not confirmed. We need to get the specifics about that, but yes, it is confirmed that they have been detained by the Thai authorities, and Thai authorities have also the picture of Luthra brothers with the Thai authorities has also come to light, has also been brought to light by India Today.
That's right. These are images of those two men who, in fact, instead of standing by their staff and their guests, the family members, the mourning family members of those people who died in that tragedy, chose to leave the country, flee the country, avoiding justice, trying to run away from the law because there were not one but several lapses that were reported from the nightclub. If these lapses weren't there, for example, a safe passage for those people, an emergency exit, Divyesh, there would have been many more survivors of this tragedy, isn't it? Divyesh.
Well, Sneha, the issue here is not regarding the exits or the entry points. The construction itself of the club was completely faulty. The design itself was faulty. The approach entrance, if you see, the approach entrance was a tiny lane which led to the first story of the club. Below the club, there was a basement which had the kitchen, which had the changing room, which had the servants' room as well. That room, that basement, had no exits. It only had one entry and exit point that was going upstairs through the staircase. So that was a trap which was already created or erected by the Luthra brothers. It was a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. And it did explode and claimed 25 innocent lives, most of which were staffers of the Luthra brothers. They were working at the club. They were working as the kitchen help. They were working as security. They were working as helpers. But they were working for the Luthra brothers. And their lives have been lost along with 4 other tourists who died in the fire that engulfed the Birch by Romeo Lane nightclub on 6th of December night. There were over 200 patrons then present at the club. Somehow they managed to get out in time. But not all were lucky. Not all were so lucky. 25 people were not so lucky. They lost their lives. Of these, 23 people had suffocated to death because of the smoke that engulfed the club on the first story. The basement was filled with smoke. People couldn't do anything. They couldn't even run for like safety towards the upper floor. It was within a very short time that the smoke filled that basement. It had water on all the sides, so there was no exit. People could not go anywhere, and they suffocated to death over there. Only 2 bodies were charred and found on the staircase, but rest 23 bodies were found in the basement, and they all had suffocated to death. So that is the kind of illegal entity that Luthra brothers had created. That is because of them, because of their faulty design, because they wanted to make a quick buck, make easy money out of these illegal clubs. Now these 25 people have lost their lives. No one else is responsible. The highest culpability is on the Luthra brothers, because they had constructed the club, they were running the ops, they were running these clubs without any permission, without any precautions, without any safety precautions in place. But the authorities also didn't act then. Authorities were also waiting for the accident to happen, and it's an unfortunate thing that this tragic accident happened. But it has opened a can of worms and brought to light the criminal ops of Luthra brothers, the criminal clubs of Luthra brothers,
That's
which were
right.
functioning in Goa, and might be that in the other cities also they were operating in a similar manner.
That's right. Well, absolutely. In fact, these investigations are underway. But look at the audacity, viewers, of these two brothers, Gaurav and Saurabh Luthra, who actually decided to flee the country merely hours after the fire broke out. You know, Divyesh, even as the rescue operations would have been underway, the attempt to douse the fire, that would have been underway. They chose to leave the country is the whole tragedy of the situation. Zero responsibility. One message that one of the brothers had put out expressing, grief, so to speak, with those people who lost their lives, saying we'll be standing with them. But they did what they did is what matters. They actually chose to flee the country, knowing very well that there's going to be trouble. Yesterday, they tried to go to court asking for anticipatory bail, but that too was turned down. Divyesh.
Well, exactly. Uh, remember, they had approached the Rohini court, and they were seeking anticipatory bail. They also went on to mention, let me emphasize on this, they also went on to mention that they were being targeted by the Goa authorities and their clubs were being demolished. So it is actually shocking and surprising that they have this. They went and said this to the court. Everyone has a right to a legal remedy. Everyone can approach the court, but in case where you have fled the country within 5 hours of the incident, you fled the country, you did not face the law, you did not answer to the authorities, within 5 hours you had landed in Phuket, and after that you are approaching Indian law. You do not abide by the Indian law, you do not obey the Indian law, you do not listen to the authorities, but you want a legal remedy for yourself. So, and that is why you have approached court. Court will decide, hearing to both the parties. It has not been decided yet, but they have sought response, a say from the Goa police as well. And based on that, the court will decide whether to grant anticipatory bail or not. But for Goa police, the Luthra brothers are the prime accused and they need to be interrogated, because without their interrogation, the other who have been arrested are low hanging fruits. They were managers, they were security manager, there was general manager, there was operations manager, someone is a driver. But what was their role? Their role, like they could be their role, but they were just low hanging fruits. The prime accused remain the Luthra brothers, and that is why they need to be booked, they need to be arrested, they need to be interrogated, and they need to reveal that who was protecting them despite several complaints, despite complaint to authorities, despite activists raising the issue of Birch by Romeo Lane functioning illegally. Who was the high and mighty protecting these people? That need to be brought to light. That needs to be needs to be investigated, and further action needs to be taken. Sneha.
Well, absolutely. Divyesh, be with us to take our viewers to the details of what we have at this point in time. Images of Gaurav and Saurabh Luthra on your screens. These were the two men, instead of facing justice and standing by their people, their staff who died in that horrific fire that took place late night on Saturday at North Goa's Birch Nightclub. They decided to flee the country, thinking that it's going to be easy and that they're going to be getting away by going to Thailand. Phuket is where they were. They booked an Indigo flight. Within hours, they were in Phuket. But the government of India, that has an extradition treaty with Thailand, moved fairly swiftly with the Goa police on their track as well. Informing the External Affairs Ministry, their passports were revoked, and then the government worked really behind the scenes to get them back to the country. We will be seeing these two men being flown back to India with the Goa police team already in Phuket.